J-Post legal correspondent takes us to the scene of the sentencing. Netanyahu warns Japanese counterpart of Iranian threat. Peres stands by the presidential role in the Israeli government. And Hollywood heavyweights speak out against Brunei Hotel. Shalom and welcome to the Jerusalem Post News. Here are the headlines for Tuesday, May 13th. In Israel's latest political drama, former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert was sentenced this morning to 6 years of prison time on conviction for 2 counts of bribery in the Holy Land trial. Our legal affairs correspondent, Yonah Bob, is at the Tel Aviv District Court with the story. Yonah?
Former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert sentenced to 6 years in prison on a conviction for 2 counts of bribery. The first time in history that an Israeli Prime Minister will go to jail. The judge did give him until September 1st to present himself to prison. That gives Olmert time to appeal to the Supreme Court. Maybe he can even delay going to prison longer than that if the Supreme Court gives a suspension to the sentence. And he still has a chance to be acquitted if the appeal succeeds. But that is a long shot. This is a sad day for the state of Israel. That's what everybody has said. Not super surprising, even though this was about as harsh a penalty as he could get. Judge David Rosen was clear throughout the trial to anyone who was in the room, was not a particular lover of Olmert, was not somebody who seemed to have sympathy for the fact that he had been Prime Minister, and was doing things, as he said, according to the law, according to the rule books.
Former Bank Hapoalim chairman Dan Dunkner was also sentenced to 3.5 years prison for his involvement in the affair, and 10 others were convicted of bribery, money laundering, and other crimes on March 31st. During his visit to Tokyo on Monday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his Japanese counterpart that just as a nuclear North Korea is a danger and threat to Japan, so too is the Iranian nuclear program a danger threat to Israel.
You face North Korea, which is a rogue regime with nuclear weapons. We face the possibility of Iran, which is a rogue regime that wants to have nuclear weapons. They're cooperating between them, and we should cooperate between us.
Netanyahu, on the first full workday of his 5-day trip to Japan, focused in various meetings on 2 primary issues, Iran and greater economic cooperation. He also made a visit to the Panasonic factory. President Shimon Peres spoke at an Oslo press conference on Monday amid tensions with the Prime Minister as Netanyahu is attempting to delay the upcoming presidential election and change the scope of presidential powers.
זה לא בעיה אישית בכלל. אני חושב שזו דוגמה נכונה לקיים את החוק כרוחו, כלשונו ובמועדו.
After cannons went off and bells chimed as Peres' motorcade drove up to the royal palace in Oslo prior to the press conference, Peres hinted there may be something undemocratic in canceling the presidency. Any change to the presidential election procedure requires a vote to amend basic law before the end of the Knesset's summer session, which began Monday. Netanyahu has yet to announce support for any of the presidential candidates. The city of Beverly Hills voted unanimously last week to pressure the government of Brunei to divest from the Beverly Hills Hotel after the small country's enactment of Sharia law prompted protests. Comedians Ellen DeGeneres, Jay Leno, and British entrepreneur Richard Branson have been the most prominent figures to advocate shunning the hotel and its bungalows, a favored locale for the Hollywood elite since it opened a century ago. The U.S. government has been largely silent on the issue until this morning, when the State Department told reporters the ambassador to Brunei had privately relayed concerns to the government there about the law. That's all we have time for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more headlines. Until then, shalom from the Jerusalem Post studio.